And the other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we jump into this is that the very back page of your handout is a survey. Steve's already going through that. And I encourage you to complete that. That's how we came up with for the topics for this class. There's a line on there asking for recommended topics, recommended classes, courses. I've already gotten a really good recommendation on a better maybe title for this class, which is good. That's great. I want good feedback. What's that?
Faced in.
Yeah, FaceTime or whatever. Faced in. Yeah, faced in.
Or link
book. Link book. You got it. But feel free to be honest, be critical. It's the only way we get these courses put together, and it's the only way we can improve. And I appreciate you guys coming here today and sitting through this and providing the feedback and sharing the stories. I think this is very relevant. I think this is very good for everyone to talk about these topics and how they apply.
And suggest topics.
Definitely. Suggest new topics for new courses.
Want to do new classes.
Definitely.
Want to do things that you guys can come to.
Exactly. Definitely. And yeah, no, we like our new facility here, and that's the other thing. When we wrap up here, we'll have you all go out and sign out, grab your certificate, and we're going to have some drinks, a little bit of food. And if anybody's interested, you want to stick around, I know Wendy and Kay and I and Andy are excited to go up and see the progression on our new office space upstairs. If anybody wants to grab a drink, walk up there with us, we'll do that after we hang out there for a little bit.
So will this
we'll try not to set off the alarm.
Sorry, will this be the location for all your classes now?
Yeah,
Instead
well,
of wandering around?
I think we'll do a lot of them here. I think it's always still good that we'll probably. Well, I mean, you could suggest that if there's a venue maybe on that back page.
This is very convenient to me.
Okay, that's good. No, we have moved them around in the past just to hit more areas. This is central. I think we'll do the majority of it here. That's Wendy and Kay and Andy will talk about it. I know the Grand City people like it. They just brought over food and walk away. Yeah. So, all right. So, if you've been paying attention or if you've picked up anything, I'll ask the question, how do home buyers begin home shopping?
On the internet.
There you go. There you go. I got 3 more bucks. There you go. You got one. So when they're on the internet, so the first step taken during the home buying process. So the first step, 41% of buyers are looking online for properties. And then this chart breaks it down over here to the right-hand side and the age brackets again. Contact a real estate agent is the number 2 there, 18%. And again, this is if they had to pick the one first thing they did when they started shopping for a home. Looked online for information about the home buying process. That's number 3. Drove by homes and neighborhoods, 8%. Talked with a friend or a relative about the home buying process. Contacted a bank or mortgage lender, 6%. We always joke about that we realize in the mortgage industry that no one wakes up in the morning and dreams about applying for a loan. We realize they're dreaming about a house, they're dreaming about a neighborhood, they're dreaming about somewhere to raise their kids or to start a family.
I have one customer I have to call about every 2 or 3 days. Okay, have you applied yet?
There you go.
I need you to have a pre-approval. We're not going out again until you have a pre-approval.
Well, I know somebody might help you follow up.
Well. I do.
Definitely, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
No, but we realize that people are dreaming about their house, and they're not dreaming about giving their social security number and financial documents to a banker or whatnot. And then there's these other ones down here. Some people still listen to newspapers. They contact the builder, contact the home seller directly, attended a home buyer seminar. So these are the ones that are very well. So bottom line is 41% are looking for the property online, and then 11% are looking online for information about the buying process. So they're looking for information. And repeat home buyers, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I touched on it. Repeat home buyers are more likely to look online at properties for sale, while first-time home buyers are more likely to look online for information about the process. So they want to educate themselves versus just jumping in and looking at houses. So it's just good to know if you're dealing more with repeat buyers or more with first-time home buyers. So the home buying process, and this is, again, they do this report every year, so you see the numbers climb here starting in 2003. 80% of buyers now, and this is the all-time high here, 79% actually, are using the internet frequently in their home shop. And what's interesting now, and this is what really came out of the Google study, the joint analysis that Google and the National Association of Realtors learned, is that although they might start online looking at properties, they really jump around. It's really like a cobweb of all the different places they go. So, and this, for the sakes and for the purpose of this conversation, and also it's realtor. I realize that. I got to work on my terminology here. It's realtor, and for the sake of this conversation, a brick and mortar services would be if a customer came to your office or met with you, face to face. So all these other ones are kind of what buyers are doing on their own. They're looking, print media. They're looking on TV. They're talking to friends and family. They're going online, and then they're eventually coming to you, the service provider, whether it's whatever it is on the transaction. But they visit all these multiple times during the process. They might start online and then end up talking to you, and then watch a TV show about flipping houses, and then talk to the friends and family about that episode of the house flipping show that they watched, and then come to you and talk to you about, hey, can I buy one of those flips and get it for $10,000? And they go online and Google about it, and it's the kind of one that keeps on going. I hear some moans. It sounds like an experience. You want to what? What was that?
I just want to hire a property.
Are they the ones that fix the houses up? The construction and I didn't know.
Yes.
They're easy on the eyes, that's what she meant.
I didn't realize. Is that why my wife wants to watch it?
And here you thought she was learning.
You're right, yeah. I taking interest in the industry. So if you could facilitate the use of all these tools and services and just accept it that they're going to jump around and just be there and provide them with the type of information they're looking for, you're ultimately fulfilling your licensing duties of protecting the best interest. Because if you're not providing them the guidance, they're going to try to go get it on their own, and you don't know who they're going to get it from, and you can't guarantee they're going to get the best information. So they're obviously using all kinds of different sources. And this is again from the Google search. The Google joint study with NAR. Internet's used 100% of the time, but then the real estate agent, as I mentioned earlier, but it's worth revisiting, is used 90% of the time, which is an all-time high. Yard signs 53%, open house 46%. So I don't know, does anybody here still like doing open houses? A couple? I mean, half of home shoppers are still visiting open houses out there, and some are still actually going to newspaper advertisements and magazines. So just understanding that they're using all these different sources just helps you facilitate the process that much better. 91% of home buyers are searching for homes on the internet. They purchase their home through a real estate agent. So that was the scare 10 years ago with IDX and MLS and all that integration of all our data that agents weren't going to be used that much anymore. Well, it's actually, agents are used more than they ever have been. So this chart shows us what are the actions taken as a result of the home search. So we've established they go to the internet first most of the time. So then what do? 76% will go drive by the homes. 62% will go walk through the homes. 32% will find an agent to search or buy a home. 22% will request more information. 13% will get pre-qualified for a mortgage online. And And then you can see over here on the right-hand side, first-time buyers, repeat buyers. They're actually pretty similar there. Looks like requested more information is higher for first-time buyers. So as I mentioned earlier, we realized that nobody's waking up in the morning on the mortgage side dying to get a mortgage application. But when through these surveys, buyers are asked, how did your mortgage experience go? 40% of them will actually say that the approval process, the application process, was more difficult than expected. So does that surprise anybody?
What can we do to help eliminate that for you?
That's a good question.
Because if we're sending our buyers to a lender,
Sure.
any lender, not that, we'll keep it, we're
Sure.
very legal and saying.
Yes,
don't
no,
lend.
I understand. Yeah.
What can we do to make it so that that doesn't become that stumbling block or
Right.
hard?
I mean, I don't know if I have to say this like off the record that it's not a MREC approved response, but I would say just educating them as early as you can in the process. Like Kathleen was saying, you said you're saying all the time to this certain buyer that you're talking to, you need to get pre-approved, you need to get pre-approved.
Well, and we do that.
Right.
We get them pre-approved. So if they get pre-approved, is it the pre-approval that is throwing them, or is it going from the pre-approval to getting a full approval?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's both. I think it's just them not understanding the process, and just the better we all can do of explaining what the whole process is going to look like. Like the pre-approval doesn't mean that
Well,
it's underwritten loan.
Well, we actually have a problem in that because we don't know what your process is anymore.
Right.
Your process.
We don't either.
I've got that impression of some lenders.
No, I'm just joking. No, lots have changed over the last few years.
Yeah, I used to be able to tell you what the process was for getting a loan, but I have no idea.
Well, unfortunately, because of all the government regulations, there's just been a lot of things that have been put on each avenue that the loan goes through. And just because you get a pre-approval, it's still subject to underwriting. It's still subject to appraisal, which still might not happen for a month or so, just depending if it's a to-be-built home or if the close date's 45 days out versus quicker or whatever. But go ahead.
I had a very bizarre thing happen yesterday. A customer was looking for homeowners insurance, and they're not Native American, and so I was sitting there with her while she was calling a couple of insurance companies, and she decided while we were talking to go online and do one of the online applications to just a general application, and she had barely finished putting in her information when she gets this call from this lady who says she's the concierge for this company.
For the insurance
For the
company.
insurance
Did we
group.
lose our-
The online one?
Did we lose our insurance? We have it.
Yeah.
Lost it.
For the online group, because they were representing maybe 15 different companies.
Right.
And she asked when she needed insurance, and the buyer said July 11th. And the lady said something, and my home buyer handed me the phone. She said, I don't understand what she's asking. So I talked to the concierge and I said, what's the problem? She said, well, when does she need insurance? And I said, July 11th. And she said, well, can't she transfer sooner? And I said, no, she's a first-time buyer.
Right.
And she said, well, we won't give quotes because our quotes are only good for 30 days, so she needs to call back because we aren't going to, she needs to do this
They called her.
They called her.
Because she filled it out on
And this
Wow.
lady was rude and saying, well, if it's, our quotes are only good for 30 days, and since she's not closing within 30 days, she'll have to call back or email back within 30 days. And it was like, excuse me?
Don't name the company, but was it national?
I don't
You had
even
never
know.
heard of it?
I
Okay.
don't know. She had just, it was a broker.
It was a broker.
Okay.
It was some online thing that she had
I got
done.
you.
And in the
Well, that's the
meantime,
unfortunate thing with using an out of town. I mean, I wish our agent was still here who could chime in and give us.
well, and in the
some-
meantime, a local State Farm agent who had evidently been emailed from this called also
Right.
and was ready to give a quote.
That happens on the mortgage side too, when you go to the online bank rate and all of that. If they put their information in there, they're going to be called on by
Well, it was very interesting I would
Haven't
never
run
have
for
done
us.
that, and so for me to see this happen was
Right.
an interesting
Was
process.
State Farm willing to talk with her?
Uh-huh. Oh, you betcha.
In over 30
Yeah.
days?
Yeah, no.
Oh, betcha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the morals of the story is if you've got a good referral relationship with a good local, reputable
Well,
person.
and I had
you don't have to
given
worry
her
about it.
a local State Farm
She's
agent
just
who she
aware
had
of it.
already talked to.
I
But
got you.
while we were waiting for a call back, she decided to try this
Just wanna
online.
get a quote.
And I'm really glad she did because I had not seen the results while a real
Right.
guy had ever done that.
Right.
But it was kind of bizarre. And the
Well, that
lady-
happens on the mortgage side too. I can tell you that. I mean, honestly, it happens on the real estate side with Zillow and Truly and all those. If they put their information in there, there's a chance they're going to get called by multiple agents too. I'm going to come back to your mortgage question though. I'll ask Andy. What Andy is a mortgage loan officer. What would you give her as advice to help expedite help
Not-
clients not think it's such a long, tedious
Are we
process?
surprised by the
Just
process?
that the process has changed. The mortgage business has gotten significantly more complex in the last few years, and it's the government that's done it to us.
Okay.
And that, I would say advise your clients that some of the stuff we ask for may seem stupid. We probably think it's stupid, but there's some underwriting guideline that Fannie or Freddie's issued, and just say, give them the stuff they need. It's not like it was 5 years ago. It's a complex process.
What was interesting to me is they were asked, this online service was asking
This is
for the
insurance.
insurance, and I'm assuming the mortgage people do too. We're asking for driver's license numbers, we're asking for social security numbers, we're asking for information
Right.
that I know you would have to have,
Right.
but personally, to put it in an online service like that,
Right.
Well, the driver's license, that comes down to having to identify the customer. You know, because we have a positive duty, we have to make sure we know who we're doing business with. And driver's license is a perfect piece of identification.
But you could give a generic quote
You know,
on a what if
a
scenario
generic
without.
What if scenario, I don't need any of that information. I just need to know, you know, how much house you buying, how much do you want to borrow, and what's your credit line. Once we get that, we can talk in generality.
You can't make a commitment on it. They were looking for a commitment. It sounds like the insurance company they were wanting to get a firm committed price.
it was just an unusual, it was a
Right.
unique experience for me, probably not for buyers. It's just-
Right.
One of the things I liked from my lender for my people is just a list, because I haven't gotten a loan in the last 5 years.
Standard requested information.
Right.
What are the things I'm going to need to find?
Right.
But
Get with Andy after this.
Yeah, no, but
After
that's-
that, I know.
there's a general list of stuff, then inevitably in underwriting, the underwriter's gonna say,
One by
okay,
one.
we found this, so
Right.
we need that. And that's something
But
that we
generally
don't know.
speaking, But the first time appointment, then at least they're prepared to give
Yeah,
you
oh, yeah,
the
and
top
that's
10
easy.
things or
That's-
whatever.
And
That's an
the
easy
lender
way.
used to
Probably a
send
nice
us
thing to
those
have.
lists.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
But we haven't, for one reason or another, nobody
Is
has
that
just
on-
recently.
We'll talk, yeah.
The list.
You know, because
Is
I
that-
don't have an idea anymore of what's the
Right.
process
Yeah,
looking
definitely
like.
get that's Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk, yeah.
Or we'll get a drink and some appetizers and go walk, put our hard hats on and go upstairs and look through the new building up there. But I think this will shed some light on it too, the process and what. So Fannie Mae, you know, is one of the big governmental agencies that we have to adhere to a lot of their regulations. Here's a study that they did, and what they found out, and I mean, this really plays into all this whole conversation, is that the more comfortable, the more educated, the more information that a buyer gets about the lending process earlier in the home buying process, the more likely they are to get a better deal on their mortgage, and more likely they are to be better served and have a better lending experience. So the earlier they can start doing the research, start talking to lenders in the process, that's what Fannie Mae has discovered. And they even broke it down and they split it up into income categories. So lower income respondents and higher income respondents. So they broke it into annual total family income of under $50,000, and they greater of 100,000. They've broken in half kind of just to show you the correlation between the two incomes and just what the characteristics are of the higher income households versus the lower income households. To kind of just show you what their characteristics are, what they're expecting, how they go about the home buying and the financing process, and how it's different. And I think this will shed a little light. So what they found here is that higher income respondents to this survey that they did are more comfortable. They're using mobile devices to research their lenders, to research homes for sales, and research mortgage rates. And it's actually pretty significant. So the higher the income of the household family income, the more likely these shoppers are to search for homes. It's 75%, so nearly 3/4 versus half if they're lower income. On researching lenders, it's a little lower, but it's pretty similar. And then comparing rates, they're rate shopping more if they have a higher income. So it really comes down to just more education. So the end result was that buyers who conduct more extensive mortgage research have a better understanding of their mortgage terms, and they save on average $1,000 or more in closing costs. We'll dive a little deeper into this. But ultimately, I mean, you're asking what can I do as a real estate agent? If you could just get them mobilized to start looking in online, call these lenders, pull up these websites, just start educating yourself. The earlier in the process you can get them to do that, the less curveballs they'll throw, the less sidetrack they get. It's not an end-all be-all. There'll still be things that come up. But this research by Fannie Mae shows that the more you can get them involved, ultimately, the more they'll save on their mortgage. So lower income customers are more likely to be influenced by mortgage brokers and real estate agents when choosing a lender. So the lower the income, and this isn't redlining or blockbusting or discrimination of any types. This is just research done by Fannie Mae saying that lower income households respond more to referrals given by real estate agents. And they're more influenced by mortgage brokers as well. I mean, do with that information what you want, but you can see the green here is the lower income. The blue is the higher income. So the lower the income, the more they're looking for your direction.
Well, I mean, don't you think chances are those with the higher income either already know somebody who's in the mortgage or banking, or has a friend, or your parents, or
Already
somebody
gone through the process
who's already
before.
have gone through
Right.
before,
Or
or
have a
have a
bank account.
networking, have a bank that they have a relationship with.
Sure.
So that would be.
That makes sense.
So this is basically saying that almost 1 in 3 people allow their realtor to help them
Mhm.
select their lender.
Exactly. And this is, it talks, the broader research also talks about all sorts of factors. So it
But
talks
if
about-
you averaged your 20, 29 and 14, so you'd be probably 1 in
1 in 3 versus
1
1
in 1, yeah, 1 in 5.
Right.
1 in 3 versus 1 in 5.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So your clientele determines how much influence you actually have.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And you might have a mix. Just, again, this is just information. Just be aware. The lower income, the more influence you have, the more they're looking for your direction on it. And then the other interesting part, and this has a lot to do with it, lower income, and unfortunately, with all the regulations, it's just a product of what has been happening in the financial world. Lower income consumers are less likely to get offers from more than one financial institution, and that's just unfortunate. Unfortunately, the lower their income, the less quotes they're going to get. It's totally just the way of the world. A lot of legislation's trying to combat this and prevent this from happening, but it is what it is. If someone comes in of course it doesn't happen at the company I work at. And I would say it doesn't happen at a lot of the companies with the people you work with. But unfortunately, if a banker or a mortgage broker or whatever looks at someone and doesn't think there might be a lot of money to be made there, they might not give them a lot of attention. They might not dive into their situation and really try to to figure out what the best transaction is for them, because they're being selfish and they don't think they're going to be able to make a lot of money off it. So make sure you don't partner with those types of people. Make sure you partner and refer your clients to the ones that are going to take care of your customers. Higher income consumers are more likely to say competitive offers would have had a major influence on their lender choice. So again, the higher income respondents are more likely to search rates, search lenders, search companies, get multiple quotes, get multiple analysis of their situation and to go with the best one. And that's just, like you said, a product that maybe hadn't gone through the process before. Maybe, like you said, Jody mentioned, maybe someone in the family's involved in some area of that industry. Could be all the above. But more than 2/3 of all respondents said that reputation is a major factor in the lending choice. So 2/3 definitely are going online, asking their friends and family online and offline, just trying to dial in and say who's a good reputable lender. And this research is also done, for all service providers. So home inspectors, title representatives. I mean, they're looking for reputable companies. And you ask what can you do to help process and help avoid potential problems. Work with reputable companies that you trust and get them involved as early as you can in the process so they can address any concerns that come up. Which brings us to, it's a gray area, referring customers, because you can't get monetary kickback. It's obviously a RESPA violation. So everybody's concerned, you want to do what's best for your customer, but you also want to do what's best for you. You don't want to get yourself as a licensee in any type of litigation saying that you were coercing a customer to a certain lender or a certain title company or a certain home inspector. So there is immunity from liability in the MREC Commission statutes. And we'll just walk through this real quick because it's topical, what we're talking about. A real estate licensee shall be immune from liability for statements made by engineers, land surveyors, geologists, environmental hazard experts, wood destroying and control experts, termite inspectors, mortgage brokers, home inspectors, and other home inspection experts. Unless, so it's saying you're immune from referring the advice that your clients are getting from these referred partners, unless that person you're referring is employed by the licensee or the broker from which you're associated with. So that'd be an in-house service provider. Or the person making the statement was selected by and engaged by the licensee. So that really comes down to, you can recommend someone and say, hey, they do a good job, I would use them, or they've done a good job in the past, but you can't force, I know I'm telling you something you don't already know, but you can't force them to use anybody. It's ultimately the customer's decision. And I think the more you remind them of that, and you can say, hey, I've worked with these guys, they've done a good job, but you're free to use who you want, you're free to go online and check the insurance quotes and get called by somebody from out of state or out of the country. But, it's your choice. All I can do is give you some reputable companies that I know to be with. Go ahead.
One
Wendy?
thing to watch for is, I have seen some realtors sign survey work orders on behalf of their clients. And I think that, and again,
It's a gray area.
I'm not an attorney, but I think that could become a gray area if something were to come back on that survey.
Right.
And the agent was the one that signed the survey work order, which authorized. So I would just be careful if you ever are faced in that situation. Make sure you check with your broker
Yes,
that
definitely.
that's okay.
As always, check with your broker, legal counsel, and or compliance officer.
There you go.
The other one here is if the licensee knew prior to closing that the statement was false. So if you do know someone that is working with your client has gotten false information from a service provider, it is in the MREC statute and rules that you have to tell them that you think they're getting false information. So if you think they've been lied to or misled, you have to at least let them know. I think you need to get a second opinion, a third opinion, I think you're doing this well. So as long as the employee is, as long as who you're referring and the statement's not made by an employee of your company or associated with, or the person was not selected or engaged by you, you're immune from any liability. That's what the MRAC statute says. So I know it's like Wendy said, talk to your compliance, talk to your broker, get your guidance. But there definitely is a statute that covers this in our license law. And the one thing I do want to point out, nowhere in here does it say you have to refer out 3. You always hear that you got to give out 3 service providers. I realize that would limit your liability theoretically, but I think you're opening yourself up to even more liability if you're not giving guidance to good reputable partners that you're comfortable with. Because ultimately, your commission at the end of the day is tied to your customer closing and being happy and getting referrals from them. So you want to work with people you trust. You want to work with people that you know are going to do the best thing. And maybe the transaction doesn't always close because of environmental things or transactional things that you can't control, or maybe your service provider couldn't control either. But if you know majority of the time that deal's going to close and everybody's going to be happy, I think that's a good referral relationship that you can have. So another interesting part of the home shopping process is the research to action lab. And this is again from the Google research. So 40% of buyers, and this is overall buyers, from the first time they start searching for a home, it's 120 days roughly before they actually buy the house. So it's nearly half of the buyers that are out there are taking 120 days.
Is that to close or to contract?
To close, I believe.
No, I didn't think
Oh,
much more.
yeah.
Okay, I thought you were going to.
Yep.
It said research to action, so action to me meant put a contract.
Well, and that doesn't make sense because
I think you're right.
It's gotta be on contract.
It's got to be
I think you're right,
contract, but you got
action.
same,
You're
but
right.
your last one is same day.
You're right, the closing would be even longer.
And yeah, it could be any
Long.
amount of time.
Yeah, you're right.
And is that 120 days plus?
You're right. Yep,
That's gotta be 120 days plus,
you're right.
because I've got 4 years.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
You're talking averages.
So they start the research, you might hear from them up here, and then, they fall off the grid for 3 or 4 months, and then finally they might come back to you and say, oh, I want to look at property or whatever. I guess this is encouraging. A quarter of them
Yeah.
react on the same day.
Love those relocations.
78% of new home shoppers visit 3+ websites prior to taking action on a real estate site. So almost 3/4 are visiting multiple different sites before they maybe hit that contact me form on the website or try to make an appointment online or whatever the call to action might be. And then the other thing was buyers in the Midwest look at an average of 12 homes. Does that sound right?
In one day.
Yes, that's our experience.
I thought that might get a laugh. That's what the report said. Average of 12 homes.
And actually, last year that might have been true.
Not this year.
No.
All right. A little bit more information about the home shopping process. 42% of buyers find the home they ultimately purchase online, so nearly half. And then what's interesting here is of all buyers, here's all the different things: search engines, mobile tablet search engine. It really breaks down specifically what sources they're using. And obviously, if you can facilitate the different technologies and the different services, you're going to be able to, have a happy buyer and provide better service. So, most important factor when choosing a real estate agent. So, we'll start wrapping up here a little bit. Ultimately, we're talking about technology and what buyers are doing and how they're getting to the homes that they're going to buy and what information they're looking for to get all of it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to they have to be comfortable with you, the realtor, the realtor, and they have to be comfortable with their service providers and trust them. And that's really the top requirement, the top factor that they look at. Honesty and trustworthiness is nearly a quarter of the respondents to the survey say that's the main thing that they want. Reputation's second, right there, and then agent is a friend or family member. I'm sure you guys see a lot of that. And that comes down to trust, just being comfortable with someone. And then it comes down into knowledge, and then being a good listener and being timely. So it really comes down to trustworthy and honesty. So this pie is showing if they could only pick one factor. This graph is showing, list off all the factors that are important to you. And here they are. I mean, honesty and integrity, responsiveness, knowledge of the process, knowledge of the real estate market. I mean, those are all above 90% right there. And then, communication skills. It's right up there, too. Negotiation skills, people skills. So, I mean, these two categories here, communication skills, people skills, really that's kind of the new world we're living in now when you're talking about text messaging, Facebook, and just accessibility. They want to be younger homebuyers want to be communicated with through the technology they're comfortable with.
So you don't think that's the skills with technology part at the bottom?
Well, I think it all ties together. I mean, yeah, down here at the bottom it says skills with technology. But they're saying, no, I don't care if you're good with technology. But they're saying
As
you
long
got
as
to be
as
good.
long as you can communicate.
Exactly right. As long as you can communicate. So maybe they don't expect you to be on all websites and all these things. They don't expect you to be everything. But as long as you're able to communicate and comfortable that you're looking out for them, I think that's ultimately what they're looking for. And the correlation with that is that when we tie it back to the MRAC licensing requirements, that's actually those qualities that they're looking for are actually part of you getting a license. It says the MRAC can only grant licenses to people who are of good moral character, good reputation for honesty, integrity, and fair dealing, and are competent to transact business in such a manner to safeguard the interest of the public. So, what's that?
That's us.
There you go.
I always wonder how they managed to do in there.
And I got to throw this in right here at the end because it's really relevant. Investigation of certain practices. So the MRAC could facilitate proceedings that could result in the revocation of license for the following acts. I won't read word for word, but really omission of material facts, which we talked about earlier, failure to timely deliver any instruments to any party prepared by the licensee or within his or her control, including any matter pertaining to the consummation of a real estate transaction which he or she may participate in. So when you're talking about timeliness, I gave an example earlier of the real estate agent who wasn't timely on texts and things like that. I mean, it's a really gray area that if that buyer really was upset about losing that deal, they could come in and quote and say, hey, look, you weren't timely to deliver me something that was relevant to that transaction. And it could be reported to the MRAC. It did not happen. But I'm afraid that agent really opened themselves up in that example that I used earlier. We all know you can't use prize money, gifts, or other valuable consideration as inducement to secure customers. And it just gets into untrustworthiness, improper, fraudulent business dealings. You would expect those are the types of activities that could get your license revoked. Again, I have to say, check with the compliance officer, your broker, your lawyer about all these things, and it changes depending on who you're representing in a transaction. Your responsibilities can change. So to just sum it all up and to close it all up, it really all just comes down to exercising reasonable care for home buyers. And a lot of that comes through the facilitation of using these technologies. It doesn't mean, like I said, you have to be an expert. Doesn't mean you have to be all-knowing on all these different things. I think if you're just aware and know how it's being used, and you can get in there and facilitate and just know what your buyers are doing, you're ultimately going to be able to do what's in the best interest of home buyers, and you're going to be able to serve clients better by communicating through the preferred channels, and you're ultimately protecting the best interests, both online and offline. And I think that's really the gray area, just kind of the new world we're in. Old world, old time way of doing business, face to face, on the phone, you're talking to people, you're doing all of these things. It's just there's this new component now where you might not face to face or even verbally hear the person. But the problems are the same, the challenges are the same, the opportunities are the same. Just the communication, I think, is the new way here has just changed things. So I think that pretty much wraps us up here. I appreciate you guys spending the afternoon with us. Appreciate you being our guinea pigs in the new facility, on the new course. And come on out and sign out, get your certificate, and join us for a drink and some food. And we do not have hard hats. So thank you. Don't forget your survey. So hand your survey to Kay or Wendy or Andrew. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.